The Amherst Township Board of Trustees is called to order. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lynch?
Here.
Eurig?
Yes.
Kish is also present, and Denny is absent.
And Chris, you're where Denny had called in 6.
Right. I have the July 26th regular meeting minutes of the Amherst Township Trustees. The meeting was called to order at 7:05 p.m. by Lynch with a pledge to the flag. Roll call, Abraham, Lynch, Eurig, and Kish were all present. Also in attendance was Case Marsh, G. Lynch, S. D'Ambrosio, C. Nyhart, M. Castillo, S. Filagi, K. Schalkhauser, M. J. Schalkhauser, R. Bonifrio, R. and R. Worth, T. Waits, D. Clark, M. Gargis, T. Tokarsh, E. and L. Kayan, C. Lash, D. Moore, T. Van Dyke, S. and S. Woods, M. Cremini, C. Harmich, L. Harmich, D. Rourke, L. Brown, N. Shmula, E. Soto, S. Yaram, J. Yaram, M. Yaram, and C. Colvin. 7-11-22, a motion by Abraham, seconded by Lynch, to approve the July 12, 2022 regular meeting minutes as read. All ayes. 7-12-22, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Eurig, moved to approve the July 14th emergency meeting minutes as read. All ayes. 7-13-22, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham, moved to approve the financial reports and payment of items on the payment listing, which includes ARPA fund expenditures as specified in documents provided by the fiscal officer. All ayes. 7-14-22, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Eurig, moved to approve that the June 2022 credit card account transaction detail has been reviewed per policy and is accepted as presented, subject to investigation. All ayes. Under audience concern, S. Vilagi and K. Schalkhauser presented on the establishment of a quiet zone for the Northern Southern Railroad through the city of Amherst and Amherst Township, Ohio. A discussion ensued regarding the pros and cons of establishing a quiet zone. A recess was taken until 8:10 to allow the residents to leave. Under correspondence, Trustee Lynch noted packets contain information regarding Sandstone Parkway, Spline Road, winter maintenance traffic islands. With the county taking responsibilities for that road and eventually Oberlin Road, we will have an agreement with the county for specific road condition maintenance and responsibilities. Under reports, zoning, 11 permits for this month, total of 15 new homes year to date. 2 properties owned by the same individual have property maintenance issues. The zoning inspector has been sending letters to no avail. A posting will be made and they will have 14 days to comply. If that doesn't happen, we will have to involve the prosecutor's office. 7-15-22, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Abraham, moved pursuant to ORC section 505.871. The Board of Trustees of Amherst Township have determined that junk motor vehicles are parked/stored along with tall grass and other vegetation/other property maintenance issues upon your property located at 323 Deepwood and 8935 Oberlin Road within the township. You are ordered immediately to remove said items. If you fail to comply with this order within 14 days, the Township Trustees will provide for the removal of said items and any expenses incurred by the Township in the performance of such removal task will be entered upon the tax duplicate as a lien upon your property and shall be collected as other taxes. All ayes. Under Road, Park, and Cemetery, Road Superintendent Smarsh reported that trimming and mowing in the parks and cemeteries, 2 catch basins completed and cones should be removed this week. 4 more catch basins scheduled to be repaired, 2 in Copper Creek. Under Phase 2, Trustee Lynch attended the SWAC meeting last Thursday, and they were still trying to figure out how to leverage additional dollars. He also spoke with Commissioner Matt Lundy on Friday, July 22nd regarding the 2 Lorain County Commissioners' ARPA grant applications submitted by Amherst Township. One application is a joint application with Elyria Township in the amount of $241,718 to cover the cost of property owners mandated to connect to new county sewers. The other application requests the use of $269,715 in ARPA funds versus tax incremental financing to pay for the extension of the Lorain County sanitary sewer from the Hampshire Farm subdivision northerly along Oberlin Road to State Route 2 overpass, and $40,000 in TIF funds as a partial match for an OPWC grant to pay for a $200,000 resurfacing project of Oberlin Road from Middle Ridge to North Ridge. This resurfacing has been put off now for 4 years. It appears we will get something for both of those grants as they have been forwarded to the prosecutor's office for approval. Under complaints, they are being handled by the designated individual. Under old business, Trustee Uhrig noted he attended the consortium meeting last Wednesday, and the fuel surcharge is going up to $5.76 a quarter, starting in the third quarter. Under new business, Trustee Lynch noted packets contain information from the Ohio Township Association regarding the One Ohio Distributor Settlement update. This settlement is in regards to payments being made to participating local governments over the next 18 years. Amherst Township will receive an estimated $18,951 to $27,073 to be paid over the next 18 years. Before receiving any Ohio One opioid settlement funds, a township must complete the Distributor Settlement Participation Agreement and the Janssen Settlement Participation Agreement. The prosecutor's office will need to verify legal requirements and spending compliance issues. 7/16/22, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Uhrig, moved to authorize the Board of Trustees chairperson to take all actions necessary to participate in the Ohio One opioid settlement. Roll call, all ayes. The next regularly scheduled meeting will be Tuesday, August 9th, 2022 at 7 p.m. at the Amherst Township Hall. 7/17/22, a motion by Abraham, seconded by Uhrig, to adjourn at 8:45 p.m. All ayes.
Are there any changes or corrections to the July 26th meeting minutes?
I have one correction. Page 1, audience concerns, line 2, first word should be Norfolk.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the July 26, 2022 meeting minutes with a correction.
Second,
Lynch?
Yes.
Uhrig?
yes.
Okay, then I have the financial reports in front of you. You have the payment listing, which is nothing out of the ordinary other than we are receiving our second quarter reimbursement payment, which is on this sheet, the $103,014.78.
For the ARPA reimbursement.
For the ARPA
from
reimbursement,
township
yes.
salaries.
That's really the only thing I think that stands out on that.
That
And,
you have the Amherst Fire Department contract payment
Yes.
of $61,000 roughly.
$60,994.75, yeah.
Okay, now that's for what, second quarter?
Second quarter.
Do you know what our year-to-date is? Do you recall what the first quarter was? Just off
No,
the
but
top of your
I
head.
could tell you in a few minutes, but not off the top of my head. Probably pretty close.
About the same, okay.
And that OTARMA is, we received a adjustment in the form of a check for our, we get a rebate back. So it shows that the actual payment was adjusted. Other than that, everything is pretty normal. Our year-to-date revenue is $1,112,777.48, and our year-to-date expenditures are $869,103.48.
Now that payment to ourselves in the register, on the payments, is that the ARPA funds?
Mhm.
Yeah, so what we've got, David, if you look at the report, there's $243,690 and change remaining.
He doesn't get that report.
Oh, he doesn't get this one? Okay.
I show 348. Well, wait a minute. Oh, I get the synopsis. Oh, pool.
Which
and
the
non-
fire should be on there too, right?
232, you got this pool. No, you got a pool. That's 116. No, that's the wrong one. I'm sorry. 245, there you are. 245 on this one. thereabouts, that's where it's at. All right.
All right, there any other questions there on the financials then, David?
No, I'll
Well,
make a
good, Chris.
motion
Well,
to,
well, keep in mind, we've got to put it in, and this is where, Chris, we got to watch, because sometimes you may not have an adjustment for ARPA. You know, we wrote this resolution as if there always is, so trustees have to make sure
okay,
they adjust that, but,
make that motion, yeah.
all right, then, the motion to approve the financial reports and the payment of the items on the payment listing, which include ARPA fund expenditures as specified in the document provided by the fiscal officer.
Second?
Lynch?
Yes.
Urick?
Yes.
What's the number on that, Chris?
That's 8-2.
8-2. Okay, and then Chris, you also sent a request to have an amendment of the 2022 official certificate of estimated resources and permanent annual appropriation measures for Ohio Revised Code Section 5705.36 and 5705.38. David, you got a copy in your packet and was emailed to you, but you want to review what the changes were and why?
Yeah, there was a additional, well, actually, it's the second tranche of the ARPA funds, so we needed to amend the budget for that payment. And then also, I amended for $100,000 for the roads department because they had requested that when I did the budget for 2022. And I sure could have sworn that I had put that in there, but it is in there now since we were amending.
And just so you're aware too, Chris, I left in the portion here in section 3 only to keep the tie in the paperwork with the budget where you had done the separation from the CARES Act fund to the ARPA fund and showing that, hey, the CARES Act was already spent, so there was no commingling. But just in the event the auditor ends up looking at this resolution, I had not included that and didn't go back to the original resolution. So I just left that in there as part of this to keep the paperwork trail. So with that then, I'm going to make a motion to provide for the current expenses and other expenditures of the Board of Amherst Township Trustees during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2022. The 2022 ARPA Fund of Estimated Resources shall increase by $1,202.93, and the ARPA Fund appropriation shall be increased by $162,281.21, and the Road and Bridge Fund shall increased by $119,200. Thus, the following sums be and the same as hereby set aside and permanently appropriated for the several purposes for which expenditures are to be made for and during said fiscal year. And I'm not going to read through all the different funds because the only two that change, as Chris pointed out, is the Road and Bridge and the ARPA funds and the amounts that I just mentioned. That'll be my motion.
Second?
Lynch?
Yes.
Urick?
Yes.
That's 8-3.
Okay, and as far as the American Rescue Plan Act, I just want to mention to you, Chris, a change that I don't think it'll really matter much to us since we passed that standard allowance resolution, other than the way payments are. There was another update that the Treasury just sent out on July 29th, and I haven't read through all the details, but it was listed in that the last email sent out by the Office of Budget Management. They appear that if you adopt a standard resolution, that you can now use those funds for debt service and loans. Remember, we had said the way it was written before, we definitely do not want to use those funds to pay back for the loans that we took out from OPWC for the roads. But I don't want to say to do that yet. I mean, we can cover them in other things. I want to read through that in more detail. But that's what the summary had indicated. I'd really like to get that clear, that that's not an issue, because then you've got complete freedom instead of really having to watch each one, you know. But again, we're going to use that up in time just with the standard operations that
Right.
we've got here.
Right.
But just to be aware of that, and I'll try and wade through that to determine exactly what it's saying, and then maybe send a question over to the prosecutor to make sure I'm interpreting it correctly.
Okay.
Okay?
And the only other thing I have under financials is the 2020-2021 audit has begun.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a AUP.
Yeah, and did they say when that's going to start, or they're not?
I've already started sending things to them.
Okay. So is no one coming in to look at it?
I've explained to them my work situation and that if they wanted to meet me here after 5 or on weekends, and they said we could do almost everything electronically.
Wow, that's great. And I assume some of this is because of the COVID that, you know, before, what do they call that, adjust, this more simplified audit that you could, originally it was set up, you can only do that 2 times in a row.
AUP, and they did, yeah, it's something,
Yeah, I forget the name, but I just call it the lower budget audit, but then you're supposed to go through a full audit, the third one.
Right.
But then they had, somehow they wrote in there that they would allow a third one, which
Right.
is fine, it saves us money.
right, and it said if you would like a full audit, please let me know.
Yeah, and probably where you do that is if you had a changeover in fiscal officer, we'd probably say, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. And so we knew we started out clean, but that's not the case here.
Mhm.
So, okay. All right, anything else, Chris?
That's it.
All right, I don't see any audience members here. I do have a resolution here for the Sandstone Mill Phase 1. This was the home construction for the Sandstone Development Final Site Plan Development Review by the Zoning Commission, the Board of Trustees. I'm going to put this on hold for a moment, just in the event that Tom Oster is supposed to be here. I told him about 7:15 would be good to give us time to get through things, but if he doesn't show up, we'll go ahead and review this without him. I don't see where anything's changed unless there's a question we can't answer here or that wasn't brought up at the Zoning Commission. So we'll just put that on hold right now. The next document, this was from Pete Sawick. This in regards to the Angle Ditch Phase 3 project. Pete's authorizing to pay a progress payment in the amount of $100,000 for the work that's already been done. There is some remediation that needs to be done. And Chris, I know we've had correspondence going back and forth between the Stormwater District and the township, but, you know, this is something where, as Stormwater District indicated, they're going to send those funds over now. Do they have enough information?
Yeah, I have not heard, other than the last thing you sent.
Okay. And I can't recall if Jessica and Pete were copied on that, but if not, if you could just forward that over to them and see what else do they need, because, you know, we can't get to the point, and I do not see it in the MOU where it says this is a reimbursement grant. I've read those MOUs, and there's 2 MOUs for this project, because if you recall, there originally was a Phase 3 and a Phase 4. And we were waiting on the original Phase 3 for the engineering details so we could bid it out, and that never came. So then the decision was, well, you know, you can save money in the mobilization if you combine this project into one larger project, which all made sense, and we did that. But to expect that we can pay these amounts, we really don't have that type of funding. We do this year only because of ARPA funds, but that's not the norm.
And my question was that Pete had CC'd me, what's the next step? And you had said in past projects, the county has sent us the stormwater grant funds, agreed to in the MOUs, but that was only sent internal. That did not go to Jessica or Don Romanchik or...
So it's just Pete?
It just was to me, Denny, David, Linda, and Kevin.
Okay, well then, if you can forward that to Don and Jessica, Pete's just the engineer. Don's the manager of the stormwater district, and Jessica works for Don. So if they can let us know, is there anything else they need to do to send over the reimbursement amounts indicated in those two MOUs so we can make this payment and get this done? Okay?
Okay.
Okay, we'll move on to reports. Zoning, Sam?
We have one permit. Are we doing this month or last month? We ended up with 14 permits for July, still at 15 new homes, and we have one permit so far for August.
Are there any questions for Sam, David?
At this time, no. Right now.
There was at the last zoning commission meeting, for the sandstone development, they indicated they might be submitting plans for the redwood development. I assume that hasn't happened then,
Yeah.
which means they probably will not be on the September zoning commission.
Yeah, and I thought he
agenda.
said that he was thinking about September too, but
Yeah, I think they're going to have to wait until October then. Nothing's come through. I do remember him also saying something to the effect there was something they were trying to work out between, Tom Oster, John Evanson, and the representative for Redwood. They didn't divulge what that was, but so I assume they didn't get things resolved, so they're probably going to have to wait till October, because you're not going to have time to get it out to the zoning commission for them to review and get questions back prior to their September meeting. Okay. All right, and I'll probably have at the next meeting, this will help when your question, David, on the fire cost is, there'll be more in the number of runs and trying to show the trends. I did get from the chief, he sent over the second quarter runs and the distribution between north of the turnpike, south of the turnpike, and whether they were fire calls versus EMS calls and whatnot. But I wanted to go back, now that we have a year and a half's worth of history, and get that also on a chart so we can see what's changing or what's moving there. So hopefully I'll have that at the next meeting for you. Better write a note so I don't forget. I would have tried to have it today, but for some reason my computer wasn't communicating with the scanner, and I didn't get down to the township to scan it here, so. Okay, we'll move on to roads, parks, and cemetery. Superintendent Smart.
With the cemeteries and parks, it's still just mowing and trimming. Still need to get into the woods to get those trees, but they aren't in harm's way. And after 3.5 months, as of Friday, we received the parts for the AD swing, and I got that up today. That was something else. But everything, I guess, has taken a lot more time to
Yes.
get. But so we finally got that. And for the roads, we took care of the side of the road, the complaint that we'll go over in the complaints. We took care of that today. We've done some, I had a company come in and did some trimming with an extend-a-boom brush hog on a couple of edges of the roads. Still have a lot more of that to do, but that's all within scheduling.
Where was that at, Kevin?
I did along the railroad tracks here, did on Fowl Road, and did up and over the turnpike, right through here. There's still a little bit more trimming to do that, we'll do in-house for over the pike. But there's a couple other places, and I have scheduled up, which will be in-house, but the outlet ditch of Hidden Valley and Oberlin Road, those saplings are starting to get to good size, and I have to get two temporary easements made up for each one of the property owners on each side of that ditch.
Okay.
Been working with Elyria Township and Carlisle Township and LaGrange Township, and we ended up something real fast that came up that wasn't supposed to happen till the end of September, but things got changed around, and we did the edge, we asphalted the edge of Fowl Road on both sides, and we'll end up chipping and sealing in-house, Fowl Road, and we traded off a couple of hours to help out Carlisle for the work that we did, between Elyria. So, at this time we're all straight up. It's cheap, very cheap, doing it this way.
Yeah, they have the equipment to do that?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I knew Columbia did, I didn't realize Carlisle did.
yeah, yeah. Good group of guys we were flying through,
Okay, good.
yeah.
You might get a chance to work with them again when we get the project here later in the quiet zone, but okay.
Right on, right on. But Fowl Road was getting in pretty
Yeah,
bad
well-
shape.
Yeah, I remember just driving down there recently, because I was trying to picture where you would have needed to take down with a brush. I remember some trees, but I don't remember the brush. I'm sure it's there, I just didn't see it.
Yeah, cattails right on the edge where
Okay.
the culverts go underneath.
Yeah.
Got that out of it. Because our mower, I can get kind of close, but the whole ditch itself, because it's deeper.
Well, it's good to keep that down, because, that's also one of the dumping areas people try to sneak into and dump stuff.
Correct. And the property owner actually, since we've done that, then they've mowed the whole field. They took care of that. So now it's open. You can see, so that'll deter them from dumping things.
Okay, good.
But other than that, everything's running smooth.
Do you have any questions there for Kevin, David?
That I do not. I have his phone number.
All right, well, we do have a couple of items here to take care of for roads. I'm going to take them in the order they're on the agenda. There's two applications we're going to submit to the OPWC, and I'm going to ask Kevin and Linda to work on these together. And though the engineer didn't send anything this year, you guys know you got to work through WorkWise to put it in, but the county engineer needs a paper copy of the actual application also. So Kevin did work with the county engineer and got the estimates from Sean DeFalla for Moss Canyon and also for Oberlin Road between Middle Ridge and North Ridge. So the first one is the resolution authorizing to submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission Round 37 for funding of Moss Canyon Drive concrete replacement. This is at the residential areas from 843 to 851 Moss Canyon that covers by the intersection of Fieldstone. We'll have to watch, Kevin. Remember, I mentioned to you I had a phone message from a resident several weeks back regards a problem on Fieldstone, and we talked about it. You seem to know about it, but, compared to the other roads, wasn't that bad. I mean, it's got a little missing concrete, but it's pretty small. But I did let them know that we'd be looking at this when we go over the OPWC funds. If we don't get the funding, it's just going to be putting the patching in there, like the blacktop. But in any case, this one is the Amherst Township Chairperson Neil Lynch, Road Superintendent Kevin Smarsh, or the Township Administrator Linda Ashley are authorized to request financial assistance for the Moss Canyon Drive concrete replacement. Linda, when you fill that out, you decide it's going to be more between you and Kevin. When you look at the actual grant, when they say who to put in there, obviously I'll be in the final one because they want the chairman of the board. but it's probably put in whoever you want to receive the email correspondence. For financial assistance for Moss Canyon Drive concrete replacement, residents 843 through 851 project for the Ohio Public Works Commission for road reconstruction, resurfacing improvements in order to prevent the road damage caused by poor surface drainage and to sign any agreements required for the project. So this resolution not only is that we can make the application, but so we don't have to come through later and authorize signing of the agreements that they're going to send through later through OPWC. This project is expected to be bid and awarded and constructed in 2023. Chris, you obviously have to authorize that the funds are there and to make the payment. Just so you're aware, Linda, I did put this through, it's in, let's see, one of the whereases to try and maximize our points. I already determined this one. Is that there would be a request of $36,000 in grant, $16,500 in loan, $36,900, which would be our direct match, Chris. And then this would be the 0%. I'm assuming they'll give us a 20-year loan. If they give us 25, fine, but I'm confused on that. Sometimes they're 20, sometimes they're 25. It's, I don't know why in the concrete it's not just boom, 25. Just like we've seen a difference there in the asphalt, which we would think would always be 12, but they've given us different terms. So, but that one there will give us the maximum points we can receive from that. So that'll be my motion.
Second.
Lynch?
Yes.
Uri?
Yes.
Number on that, Chris?
That's 8-4.
This is the, packet, man. OPWC stuff, right?
Okay, the next one is also for the Ohio Public Works resolution authorizing submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission Round 37 for the funding of the Overland Road resurfacing from Middle Ridge North Ridge project. This is actually going to be the top priority of the two, but we're going to submit two and hopefully we receive both. One thing you're going to have to check on this, Kevin, in your records, because OPWC doesn't have on their website anymore within our district as far as the history of projects, but I did, thank God, save this when they used to put it up there. But in the records I have, there's not enough description since we've always split Overland Road up into different phases because we can't afford to do it all at once. It appears this section was last done in 1998, but it could have been done as recent as 2020. And I say as recent, but you're going to need that information when you put the grant together. The other thing they'll want is the traffic count. And Linda, you should have that with the ODOT one-time stimulus grant we applied for that we didn't receive. So that's going to be as current as we can get in traffic count. That was an actual count that the county engineer did for us. So the reason I didn't put any numbers here is we've also put in that request to the county commissioners with an ARPA grant. We're not asking for any ARPA funds for the township. All we've asked is instead of using the TIF dollars on Hampshire Farms, which is our dollars, school dollars, and any other political entity that has a property tax, to pay for the sewers, is use the ARPA funds to pay for the sewers, which they're very specific, you can use them to pay for sewers. Since they have to keep the TIF on because they already installed the sewers going south, unless this new explanation or revision that Treasury put out, maybe they can even pay for the sewer south, but I suspect they won't. But assuming it's under the old interpretation, they can't use it for debt service, they have to keep the TIF, so we're saying, well, since you have the TIF, provide $40,000 to us to use as the match, and increase our scoring and ability to get this grant through. Well, that was submitted in April 1st, and I You know, the county had it April 2nd is what they're saying they got, which is fine, but still don't have an answer as to where that stands. And I'll talk to the commissioners again, let them know, and I explained it at our last Lorraine County Township Association, we need an answer soon because we have to turn these grants in, and they're due September 2nd as the paper copy has to be in the county engineer's hands. We want to get in before that. So hopefully they make a decision so we know how to fill out the grant to optimize the probability of success. So that's why, Linda, there's no numbers put in. We know the cost because Kevin's got the estimate. It's $246,000 for the project. And we see with, Kevin, you mentioned the scarcity of materials, waiting 3.5 months for the parts for the ADA swing. Well, we've had this on the agenda several years, but we've held it off because of knowing the county was going to install sewers there. So it's been delayed for 4 years. Well, this has gone from $180,000 to $191,000 or $162,000, I think was the first one. The last year was $191,500. Now it's $246,000, and most of that is a huge increase in the cost of materials for this. So it's it is what it is. But anyway, I'm not going to read through this resolution. It's all prepared, but again, this is for the authorization for the submittal of the grant, the signage of all the funds, or the signage of all documents and paperwork required by OPWC, and the payment. So this will be my motion.
Second.
Lynch?
Yes.
Yuri?
Yes.
That number, Chris?
This is 85,
85.
Oberlin Road, right?
Yes.
Oberlin Road.
Neil, on the Moss Canyon, that estimate that I got, about a month and a half ago or something, that was $115,000.
Mm-hmm.
That was, there was a section, the intersection of Fieldstone that was to be done as well in that. This is just the straightaway of Moss Canyon.
Oh, because, there was the discussion on Fieldstone in there, so that's, okay. Yeah, I was surprised when it came in lower, because you had talked to the last meeting.
That was a contractor.
Okay,
That was a contractor's estimate. That was 115.
gotcha.
So with,
Either way, this used to be 62.
yes, correct.
So it's, it's not, it's a shock at how much it's gone up. And again, when we get to the quiet zone, we'll discuss how that's going to impact things there as far as that project. Okay, are there any other questions for Kevin? All right, we'll move on to Township Administrator and Senior Services, Linda Ashley.
The only thing that I really have to bring before you tonight is I've been contacted again from Catherine Kennedy, who is a representative for Wreaths Across America, and that's the group that puts a decorative wreath at Christmas time on each veteran's grave. She said that there's 11 cemeteries in Lorraine County that will now be participating. The date is going to be December 17th, 2022. They're looking for volunteers, so if anybody would like to volunteer, contact me, and I'll get them in contact with Catherine. She's also asking if we would be open to putting something on our social media page and our website, just stating what they're doing, and a link to the Wreaths Across America because they are accepting donations. It's all a donation-based program.
Yeah, there's no problem putting on social media if you can do that, but can she send an explanation, and we could include an article in the
I
newsletter
have one right here,
too?
yes.
She's
She
already
sent me one by
provided it.
email.
You have it
Mhm.
electronic then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, if you forward that, Georgianne will get it in the next
Okay.
newsletter too, which might be appropriate because that'd be fall, which they'd want before the holiday.
Right, yeah, so they're looking forward to it. And as I said, they're also looking for volunteers.
Right. Well, I think that's the biggest thing they'll be looking for is volunteers. Ours, if people are willing, at least for Middle Ridge, that's easy because there's people right there. Kendig is more, there's not as much density over there of people.
Right.
You'd literally have to drive to that cemetery. You're not going to walk to it. Here, people come up out of the valley. It's easy to walk to.
Right.
Cut through
So-
the park.
So if anybody's interested in donating or getting in touch with her, volunteering, whatever, just call me in the office and I'll get them in touch with her.
Okay.
And there will be something, as we just discussed, on the website and also on the social media.
Okay.
Okay. Other than that, it's, standard operating procedures.
Yeah. Welcome back. It's,
Yeah.
that was Catherine Kennedy.
Yeah, Catherine Kennedy.
Okay, as far as the stormwater, I don't have any update other than what we already discussed on the Engle Ditch Phase 3. We're still waiting for the information on the Batten House Ditch project. Again, I think the county's still looking to try and see if they can leverage the bipartisan infrastructure, I forget what the L was for, their BIL bill, which we used to call the infrastructure bill, but now it's a bill. And there's actually a webinar that's scheduled for people to wade through that. I think they said 43 different grant opportunities, but I wish they'd just say, here's the ones the townships are eligible for, and just look at those instead of having to sit through a long webinar when most of them don't apply to us. But that's what and I support what the county's doing on that. It's just we need a decision on here. This will be the same thing like Engle. We're going to push this out and end up with a year of not being able to bid the project, and missing a construction season. Okay, as far as the complaints, open complaints, the first one is the sandstone development dust issue. I've left messages with both residents that sent in complaints and provided my phone contact, asked that they get back to me. I haven't heard anything yet. Georgianne then sent me a link to the last meeting of the zoning commission where I specifically brought this up with the developer because the developer had sent me an email response discussing their timing of when they'd be in operation and the different wooded areas that would be coming down that could create dust or issues. And so I then asked it at the zoning commission meeting to get it more clear. So if I hear back from these residents, if they give me their email, which wasn't on the complaint, I'm going to email them that video link, tell them exactly what point they can go to if they don't want to watch the whole thing, and they can hear the description of what their concern is. I'm going to leave it on the agenda again, at least for one more meeting, and I'll try and reach them again, but without an email, I can't send the information. That way, too, everybody's seeing the exact same thing instead of me talking to individuals and trying to explain what's going on. But they need to call me back. All right, the next one, Sam, there was the concern at 7175 Deer Run regarding a property maintenance and tall grass issue.
Yeah. I posted a sign without your signatures to see if I can get them to move a little bit. Every time I go there, I can't get a hold of anybody. So I'm going to try again this week. Once in a while, I see a car there. I'm going to do a little banging this week and see if I can get to talk to somebody. I can't find a phone number for the owners. I can't even say their name right. Lusty or something like that.
And I assume their property tax
really
is
bad.
probably going to whoever holds the mortgage.
Yeah, I would guess, yeah. So I'll keep trying to do something. I guess sooner or later, we're gonna have to do an official posting. Which, while we're on that, the Stovall, Deepwood, and Oberlin. Gave them 14 days on the sign that we posted. It basically is, and I just did it as business day, so really they got more, which is the 15th of this month. So I guess I'll be asking you guys to send Tom a letter to proceed.
Yeah.
I drafted a letter. Now we don't have a meeting next Tuesday, right?
Right, it'll be the Tuesday
Can I
after that.
just bring this
Yeah, I
to
would-
you, or? I mean,
Yeah, I would draft a letter. I'd also send an email to Tom giving him a heads up that
Yeah.
even though the time hasn't expired yet, when it's going to expire. I mean, you see no indication that you expect anybody to contact you, have you? So I think that date's going to come and go. And I don't know that, David, there's anything we really have to prove beyond that as far as, you know, where, once the prosecutor's letters goes in, it's just that, you know, if they don't take care of it, we'll be cutting the, you know, or cleaning up the yard and putting it on their tax duplicate. So do we need?
Authorize the prosecutor to take any action.
Yes.
You want to
Said, we
Yeah.
said any action.
Yeah,
You wanna
Tom
make
Tom
that
gave me a
motion
letter
now?
to copy off of that we should, so I did. So, and it pretty much authorizes him to do what we need to do. So I can send it to both of you?
You have the letter now, so we can maybe,
On my
if we need to
computer.
authorize that, we can do that tonight.
I
What
can
was
go
the
print it off
resolution
real
that we
quick.
passed, Neil?
Sure.
I don't think there was was there a resolution passed, or was the one for these two properties at the last meeting, right?
Yeah, that mentioned the prosecutor. I thought that was what that was for.
Did that include the prosecutor?
I believe it did.
Well, if it
You
did,
can
then,
check.
Don't remember.
let's see. Move pursuant to ORC Section 505.871, the Board of Trustees of Amherst Township have determined that junk motor vehicles are parked, stored along with tall grass and other vegetation, other property maintenance issues upon your property located at 323 Deepwood, 8935 Oberlin Road, within the township. In order to immediately to remove said items, if you fail to comply with this order within 14 days, township trustees will provide for removal of said items, and any expenses incurred by the township in the performance of such removal task will be entered upon the tax duplicate as a lien upon your property and shall be collected as other tax, but nothing in there authorizing the prosecutor.
No, I don't think we're at that point.
So I think that was a different, we did do one, David, recently to authorize the property owner to take action. That was on the Dunphy property, and that, I neglected to include that correspondence. That's been resolved. The court indicated that they are now in compliance. So I'll make a motion then to authorize the prosecutor to take any and all necessary actions regards to property maintenance issues at 323 Deepwood and 8935 Oberlin Road within the township.
Second.
I'll give you a chance to catch up on that.
Oh, yeah, I don't have anything.
That way, Sam, you won't have to wait
Okay,
another
good.
meeting.
So I can just send that, forward that to Tom, the letter, and I'll sign it.
Yeah, and when Chris has this done, you'll have a motion number if he needs that, say, hey, trustees already authorized this.
Okay, thank you.
Made a motion to authorize,
The prosecutor to take any and all necessary actions regarding property maintenance issues at 323 Deepwood
Okay.
and 8935 Oberlin Road within the township.
Oh, is that property maintenance and/or junk vehicles?
Well, if you want to
Yes.
say that, but the meat property maintenance covers everything, but if you want to add junk
Well,
vehicles,
property
we can.
maintenance, like grass and junk vehicles, really junk vehicles. You can add junk vehicles.
Okay.
I just don't want to have to come back and redo it.
Well, we
I
can
don't
add-
want to get something
That's
tripped
fine,
up
we
on a
can add junk
technicality.
vehicles. May want to add dead animal carcasses and garbage.
You could.
Brush. I don't know where we stop. I'm hoping
ETC.
property maintenance covers it all.
Did you get dead crickets? Garter snakes?
Okay, and that is 8-6.
Okay. All set then?
Yep,
All right, now is 8-6?
that was 8-6.
All right, so Sam, it's motion number 8622.
For me?
8-6-22.
Thank you.
Okay, and then there was one other complaint that came in from Ken Long regarding some road maintenance over on Dewey Road. Kevin, I know you've got this, so you want to handle that?
Yeah. We ended up coal patching where it washes out, goes down the hill there in the dip, just south of North Ridge Road. If you put stone in there, I don't care what you do, you pack it in as much as you can, and it still just washes out just because of the way of the road. So we got that packed in there. The catch basin does have debris in it, but the outlet pipe is not obstructed. So within the month, when we're doing another round of catch basin cleaning, we will get that sediment out of the trap. I did try to contact Kenny this afternoon, but it just rang, so I couldn't even leave a message. So
Oh.
I will try again tomorrow
I appreciate that.
until I do
Close the
talk to
loop.
him.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. Okay, as far as under unfinished business, David, any of the items that you have responsibility for, is there anything to bring up
Just under the policy committee, I wanted to let you know,
for solid waste?
they met, but there wasn't a quorum. Those that were there did review the information that Gigi had, but was not an official meeting, lack of a quorum. Anyway, one of the major items that came up was that the district is running a deficit, and it has, over the last several years, built up a surplus, so it's able to run off the surplus right now, but in the future, the surplus will run out and the district will be in deficit, and that means one of three things is going to happen. Either you're going to have to increase your revenue, cut your expenses, or three, a combination of those. And, one of the things that came up was add a fee, a county fee for tonnage going into the landfill. There's another one was some kind of an assessment for the stormwater for solid waste. As far as increasing revenue, other ideas that came up, cut expenses, but the question is, what do you cut? But that is going to be an issue in the future. When the plan goes out, we have to show some kind of thought process toward balancing the budget. They're not going to, the EPA is going to approve a plan that goes to negative. So. But it did come up that the deficit's going to be substantial. they thought around 2027. That's when the district will go into deficit. And a lot of that comes from the loss of revenue from the tipping fees, and the loss of the contracts in Parma, and the reduction in the contract fee. So that's the big item, something not to look forward to, but something that's going to come forward in the future.
All right. I appreciate it, David. I mean, we'll see what they do. All right, we're going to go under new business, the railroad quiet zone. Georgianne's got up on the screen now, and you've got it in your packet, is initially the quiet zone is going to cover from Cooper Foster to the west, moving through West Ridge Road on the east. And there are 5 crossings in that area. So it's Cooper Foster, Cross Road, Dewey, Oberlin Road, and West Ridge. We'll first address West Ridge. We do have an issue there. We have to put in, since this is predominantly residential, is 100 foot of curb delineators measured from the crossing gate on either side of Oberlin Road, or either side of the railroad crossing on Oberlin Road. The south side is no problem. The north side isn't a problem yet, but we're aware in this property that's owned by Joe Mancuso, Joe's got 48 acres back there. Some of it's on the south side of the track, but the majority's north of the track. And the issue is, in Joe's case, if he tries to move his driveway ingress and egress so we can put 100 feet of curb delineators, well, if he goes all the way to the north of his property, it's darn close, but there's an issue. There's a utility pole right there. And I think getting that utility pole changed would be cost prohibitive to put that in there. So the options, when I talked with Joe on the phone, I mentioned 3 possible options. I had told him, well, one is if we could put in, we'd have to check if we could put in a shorter length of delineators of 60 foot so that he could get in and out because it's not all fully residential, or he would only be able to do a right turn in and a right turn out, which would be complicated for him because if he wants to go south on Oberlin Road, he'd have to come into the township, turn around, and go back. And Joe wasn't real happy with that because I've learned he also operates an excavation business, and so he's planning on having large equipment come in and out. And I'm assuming some of it will be trailered. If you can go to the next slide, Georgianne. I talked with the consultant for the railroad quiet zone. He says, no, in this area it would have to be 100 feet, so we couldn't even go with the shorter length. So the other 2 options are getting a permanent easement, and you see option A there. Mr. Ganizak's property is right to the north of Joe's, and so they would have to have a shared drive coming out. There's nothing magical about the way those lines were drawn in. I just kind of roughed them in there to show the option. So one is an easement coming up and sharing the end of the drive with Mr. Ganizak. I've had no conversation with Mr. Ganizak yet, nor with the prosecutor on this. The second option is providing his ingress and egress with a permanent easement with the township. Since he also borders the township, but that might, he's got an excavating business, so he can cut through there pretty easy himself, but Joe, I only talked with Joe on the phone, and he said he'd really need to sit down with us on a map, but he's talking about there's a utility pole just, if you see where Mr. Ganizak's home is, just south of that, towards his southerly border, there's another utility pole. And Joe's thinking his home then would be located right in the area where Georgianne has the arrow now. based on the discussion we had by phone, realized we weren't sitting together in person looking at a map, but based on the way Joe described it, most likely that's where he'd site his home because of pulling those utilities in at the lowest cost. That's his plan right now anyway. If you recall at the zoning commission meeting, where there was a variance granted for 75-foot frontage so that this would be a buildable lot, is the variance was granted to the original property owner, but Joe explained the depth of where he'd locate his home would depend upon where he could bring in his utilities. But he was hoping to be back further there, so that's what his plan is right now. So this is presenting one dilemma. I mean, to get this quiet zone, we have to have Overland Road in there. So the trustees are going to have to sit down with Joe to go over this. I did send Joe a detailed email on it and had discussions with him. But I just want to open up, I don't know if, I thought it might be helpful if there's anybody here that knows either Mr. Ganizak or Joe on this, and also the township's going to have to decide if we can't work out the easement for option A, you know, what are the pros and cons of option B? You know, one thing right away, you know, we've got our gate crossing is further to the west there. You know, if we open this up, it's going to be more complicated to restrict, you know, people coming in and out of, you know, the township yard there, particularly in the evenings, and using that as a dump site for things that aren't eligible to be put there, since that's only for yard waste. But with that, I'm just going to open it up. I don't know, David, what comments you have on this, seeing this?
Not too many. The only thing, if you're going to put a drive in the back, that's a lot of digging. You got a lot of stone to be put in there just to get a drive that'll work. And like you said, if you tie it into our drive, given it you need one so you can get in and out, still it means that gate's going to have to be open for him to come and go, and that's going to reduce the security back at the yard waste, or even just in general on the property, because other people will be coming and going there too. I don't know if such a thing as putting a wide berm on Oberlin Road so that he could drive down the side of the road and take a left around those homes to get in the southbound lane. That might be an option. 10-foot berm on the side of the road, and, so that at least the small vehicles can.
There is a guide wire off that pole heading towards, you know, the road, but I would think that there would be enough room, you know, to put something on the side of the road like you're saying, David.
Okay.
But
We've got a 15-foot right-of-way.
yeah,
We got it's an easement 30 foot.
if he was willing to do that, I don't see why he wouldn't be up for option A. I mean, to me, that makes perfect sense. It's so close, you know, you're only
Right.
going off that property line, you know, maybe 20 feet or so, if that, from
Yeah.
driveway to the edge.
About the length of a car.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of, you know, property owners getting along and sharing something,
Sure.
you know, but that seems like the one that makes the most sense of doing it, but we'd have to, you know, have Mr. Ganizak's buy-in on that also. I mean, it's not like you're going to have equipment parked there, it's just temporary ingress. But no matter what we do, we need Overland Road in this quiet zone.
Yeah,
So that, you know, though a variance was granted from the 125-foot frontage, there's still, to my knowledge, Sam, you've checked, there's been no access permit applied for yet. And that's when it'll become the issue, and Joe will probably be applying for that when he's ready to build a home. And I didn't ask him where he stands time-wise on that, his schedule. He's had the property now for a year. I know he's been back there hunting. I did see someone, it wasn't Joe, got dropped off today with some fishing poles and camouflage gear heading down the tracks. I'm sure he was going to be fishing on the pond on Joe's property back there. Hope he's a friend of Joe's. I've seen Joe go back there with a crossbow too during deer hunting season.
They did get those culverts in, Gregory.
I saw those and I wasn't sure. It almost looks like this overhead gives the direction where the railroad's been using the rough drive he put in, but I thought those culverts were going to be at the Bat House. It seems like they're further to the west. Were those put in where the Bat House ditch crosses, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I didn't understand this little, you'll see right there at the, Jan, where'd you go with your point? Right there. Is that little access point?
Well, that's where they were going,
Just to get on the rail line?
just to get onto the rail
Right
line.
back there, okay.
Yeah.
All right, because, the Bat House ditch is further to the east there. Okay,
And there is a ditch, there is like another little waterway that
right,
kind of cuts through there so that they had to get
Okay.
over.
okay. Well, we've got another option, as David suggested, and Kevin thinks there's room, but I think the best thing is just get those two connected.
And there, with the smaller frontage that Mr. Ganizak has, well, even with the existing driveway, Mr. Ganizak's existing driveway, that definitely can be widened out, decently, not very expensive, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, well, even if we have an easement for what we're requesting, that's something we'd have to work out with the county. I don't want that expense coming on these guys, since this is supposed to be a benefit to the township overall. In addition to Brownhelm Township, City of Amherst, Amherst Township, you're going to see the City of Elyria, and now it'll go into Elyria Township, and I'll explain that in a minute. Okay, well, I'm going to contact the prosecutor and Joe again. We're probably going to have to sit down, but Kevin, we're going to want you there too, since obviously it impacts you. But if we can get a meeting with the trustees and Joe and it's hopefully Mr. Ganizak too, to see where we go with this. Okay. All right. Well, I did want to cover then further as far as this railroad quiet zone. The scoring to get the safety risk index without train horns below the risk index with train horns. I know the Amherst residents have mentioned many times, we don't need West Ridge. Well, they don't for the scoring. But my point is, if Amherst Township is already going to have Dewey Road and Oberlin Road, which they need for the scoring to get it, it wouldn't make any sense for us not to include West Ridge, because otherwise the horns are still sounding in Amherst Township, since they got to sound 15 to 20 seconds before they hit the intersection. So we would want West Ridge in, so it includes our whole township. I've been in contact with the City of Elyria, and they're very positive on this. That means we have to include the county engineer and the City of Elyria also as participants. So now we've got Brownhelm Township, City of Amherst, Amherst Township, Elyria, County Engineer. That's 5 entities. I know the consultant, which Amherst is signed an agreement July 27th with a consultant, says the more entities you get involved, the more complicated it becomes, and that's where he's seen projects that fail because of that. But Elyria also wants to include, they were hoping they could get their whole city with the Norfolk Southern Line as a quiet zone. That means 3 more intersections: Murray Ridge, Olive Street, and Abbey Road. When you bring Murray Ridge in, now you also include Elyria Township to the north of that crossing, so now you've got 6 entities. Elyria now has realized, I went out to look at those crossings, there's there's no way Abbey Road can be included in the current configuration. It would take significant work. They've got what's called Arnie's Lane running right along the north side of the railroad, interconnecting Yorkshire Court and Abbey, and that's the first challenge. And there's some challenge with an industrial, looks like auto body storage, junk stuff with a driveway, and then a business that's currently, it was just recently purchased, the property changed hands, but there's nothing going on there, but they've got some access issues. South of that on Abbey Road, where Crane Aerospace is, not a problem. They could put 100 feet in if they wanted to, even though only 60 is required in commercial and industrial. So it's just that north section. They recognize that. They may not be able to do Abbey. But Murray Ridge, the only thing they have is an outbuilding that was listed as Time Warner Cable. It's now Spectrum has. No one staffed there. It's not in operation. They just come to do some service there. I'm not sure if that's for power supply or what that facility is used for. But Illyria's already been in contact with Spectrum. They know that's doable. It just would bring Elyria Township into the mix. Olive Street, not a problem. They can actually put the delineators in there. So we're probably going to extend this. I just received the email back from Elyria on the details of this, where, I think they've come to grips that Abbey can't be included. So I'm going to have some contacts with Amherst Mayor Costello to say, hey, can they just contact the consultant directly so we can expand this to get this done all at one time. The reason you want to do it now is obviously cost and keeping the cost down to do the whole section all at once with one application to the Federal Railway Administration, and also because if they aren't included now, then their quiet zone would have to be a standalone quiet zone. Their scoring, it might still be strong enough, but it definitely would be stronger if it was included with our quiet zone. But now timing becomes an issue. Kevin talked about waiting 3.5 months for a part to fix an ADA swing. We talked about where costs have increased on the road projects that we've seen over the last couple of years. Well, we've got right now the quote for these curve delineators. Well, the quote came in last year, and it's only good through December of this year. And when we look at retail pricing online, the ODOT contract that they have with Quick Curb is less than 50% of what the going rate is now for that material. So if we wait, we almost double the cost of this project. And right now, for every 100 feet, runs about, including the installation labor, no contingencies, about $7,400 bucks. You put in contingencies, could be as high as $8,600 bucks per 100 foot
You gotta
per
do
delineator.
two.
And you have to, well, two in the residential area.
Each
Some are
side.
only 60 feet, David,
Well,
in the commercial areas.
Okay, what I'm thinking is, you gotta do, in our case, the south side and the north side.
Right.
You got two sides of the tracks to do.
Right,
So that's gonna be 200 feet.
right. So basically, you're talking
Two sets.
$15,000 to $16,000. But if we wait till next year,
Could be
it may be
30.
double. So I know Elyria is asking the timing, and I was composing an email before we came to the meeting, and I thought, I've got to leave. I can't get this completed. But just to let them know, because that was one of their other things, they don't want to hold up our project, recognizing if they have to, they'll stick with just West Ridge. But they really want to include these other intersections. And so I'm going to let her know it's got to be done. I say her because it's their engineer, Kathy McKillips, that we want to get this done in 2022. So it's, it's got a lot of balls up in the air here. I will contact Mayor Costello tomorrow, but hopefully we can move this forward. But just so you're aware, Kevin, you talked about working with these other townships, and I'll be contacting Elyria Township also, is we've got to decide if we bid this out or do it internal. Right now, I price it out at $50 an hour in labor to get these cost estimates. And I doubled the amount of time because they didn't say how many personnel were putting this in. According to Quick Curve, they claim, oh, you can do both sides of the railroad, 200 feet of curb delineator in less than half a day. Well, you know, maybe, but you're talking a hammer drill, 2 holes per section, roughly 30 sections per 100 feet. So on both sides, 60 sections, 120 holes, plus fastening, keeping them lined up. Maybe, maybe not, you know. And then all your hauling over and hauling back. And these are about 34 pounds apiece, so they're not light pieces. You'd be trailering everything over there. You know, all your tools and the whole operation. Obviously, one Overland Road's nice and convenient, but the others wouldn't be, and there's a good chance we'd have to temporarily close the road because you're going to be working right in the middle of the road. You know, for safety, it'd be hard to just, you know, cordon off the middle of the road and expect that to be safe enough, even if you park vehicles in front to keep people from racing in and hitting somebody. So we may just have to temporarily close the road, make sure we get it done in a day, you know, and for our intersection, move from one to the other. Okay. Crossroads not as busy. That would be the city of Amherst. You know, Cooper Foster gets quite a bit of traffic there too.
Dewey Road.
Dewey Road. I think we'd have to close it, you know, temporarily. But it's, you know, once you get moving, and that's where it might help if we do it coordinated with a group, because you know how it is. It's getting your first one and getting your feet. Once you get going, you can go almost like assembly line. But that first one's going to be the tough one. I don't know if we've got if we've even got a hammer drill. I assume you do. 3/4 inch bit is what you need, and obviously you're going to want more than one because, you know, going through that you're going through stone also, and it's going to wear out. And if somebody gets too aggressive, they may break a bit. And it would help if there were at least 2 per assembly versus some guy standing and waiting as one guy's drilling. So if we can get a group to work on this between the different affected communities, we can move it along quicker. But we need a decision because we're going to have to get this material on order to lock in this price, and then each entity is probably going to have to store their own. Every 100 foot is going to be on like a probably a 3x4 pallet. You know, it would cover it. And you know, you need the forks to lift it because, you know, you're going to have over almost 1,000 pounds on that pallet. Okay. But I don't know if there's any other questions, but that's where it stands right now as far as the railroad quiet zone. Oh, now I am going to ask for the railroad quiet zone, one other thing, only because I am going to apply for a grant with the county on this, and the townships, it says the grant application says townships and villages, and I did call the county about that. Wait a minute, you say townships and villages. I explained this quiet zone project, said we've got 2 cities involved. Does that mean they're not eligible? And they said, no, fill out the application and send it in. And so that's why I need from Elyria, you know, the commitment, which now we have. And I don't want to have to write this grant 3 times. So I'm going to look at it from the standpoint after I get communication between Amherst Mayor Coslow and City of Elyria engineer. If we're saying we're including now Murray Ridge and Olive Street, is I'll write the grant, including everything from Cooper Foster on the west to Olive Street on the east, and requesting 50% of the project costs in a county ARPA grant for this. So since I may be able to get that done before the next 2 weeks, obviously it has to be done before the end of this month, I'm going to ask for a motion to authorize a Lorraine County ARPA grant application for 50% reimbursement of the Railroad Quiet Zone Supplemental Safety Measure Project. So that's my motion.
I'll second.
And that motion's all in our agenda here, Chris,
Okay.
under new business.
You don't
E.
have a written motion on
No.
it? Okay, so.
There's no
I'm
prepared
not seeing
resolution.
something, just make sure I'm not missing something.
No. Should have let you know this ahead of time.
Mm-hmm. That's okay.
Could have copied it in there.
Reimbursement.
Ready?
Yep.
What number you have on that then, Chris?
87.
87. Okay, and the next order of business is a, oh, hang on, I got this. Okay, is to, resolution that authorized Lorraine County ARPA grant application to pay for 50% of the costs incurred to repair 2 catch basins. These are 2 catch basins Kevin already had completed, and he and Linda had worked together as far as getting the details on those catch basins. There were the one at Oak Knoll Drive and Hidden Tree Lane, the other one at 652 Cobblestone Drive, and the total costs on those 2 catch basins, let's see, I know I've got it in here, was $4,684.38. So we're requesting half of that to be reimbursed with county ARPA funds. And this resolution, and whereas is directs specifically where in the ARPA legislation that's even specified, so it's definitely an eligible expenditure. So I'm making a motion that the Amherst Township Board of Trustees supports the attached Lorraine County ARPA grant application submitted by Chairman Neil Lynch on July 30th, 2022, requesting funding to pay for 50% of the costs incurred for emergency repairs of 2 catch basins, one at 652 Cobblestone Drive and one at the intersection of Oak Knoll Drive and Hidden Tree Lane at a total cost of $4,684.38. The rest is boilerplate, but that'll be my motion.
Second,
Lynch?
Yes.
Fury?
yes.
The number, Chris?
That's 88. 22.
88. Okay, and the next item, and it's written in there, because I wasn't sure if I was going to cover this at this meeting or the next meeting. Some of this will be at the next meeting. This cybersecurity and technology update. Georgianne, I know, has had conversations with Chris and Linda on this also, but this is a combination. One, when we went through the work with the Ohio Township Association of Risk Management in terms of the protection we have relative to cybersecurity and the updates of our policy manual, it became clear we have to do a little bit more to protect ourselves from the thieves and crooks out there. So you've got here, Georgianne's put together 4 items for consideration, but I'm going to start with the one that's the most important. That's number 3 on this list. This is the firewall and Wi-Fi installation at a quoted price of $1,689. She's put down a bullet point. The main thing is improve the internet security. This firewall, which also include the additional gateway and router, will provide 2 different Wi-Fi networks here within the township without the need for duplicate hardware. The one will be for township use only. The other network can be used by the public and guests. What we found as more people are coming in with electronic presentations, they show up and the first question they ask is, what's your Wi-Fi password? And the more people that receive that password, the more people now can get in on our Wi-Fi, whether we want them there or not, or we got to keep changing the password more frequently. So with this, we'll never give them the password that's strictly used inside the township. They'll get a separate one that's for public use that'll be more restrictive. The township private Wi-Fi would be a secure network, so now we don't have to worry about guests or inadvertently causing a problem, or those that are malicious and want to cause a problem. We can filter some of the internet contact. The main thing is giving us more protection here. The other thing is changing the access points, where there'll be 2 access points in the hall. Right now it's on one wall, so essentially you're losing half of your strength of your internet connection. So by changing this location, we'll get better coverage throughout the township facility. So with that, and David, we can decide if we approve this now or later. I'll say number 3, that's the thing we've got to do. There's no ends, ifs, or buts. We then go to item 1. This is the one talking about replacement of these microphones. As we're aware, when this meeting gets taped, or any meetings are taped and broadcast to the public, is that we've been getting some feedback coming in. So we've had some technology experts review what needs to be done. They had gone through and did a trial of the improvement that can happen in the video recording, and it's my understanding now that all 3 trustees, that just because of timing have done this separately, have reviewed the difference of videos with the current system versus with the improved microphones. And obviously the quality's better with the improved microphones. That cost, I think, again, is something that we should do. There is the question, though, since whether these gooseneck ones should be on stands that move like these, or whether there's additional holes drilled in and secured to the days. We're talking 5 microphones. Realize when the zoning boards are here, there's 5 people on the board. And I think the best thing here is to still have them portable, increase the cost slightly, but I think that's another one that we need to do. The ceiling speakers, the jury's still out on that, and this is something we need to find out. This is improved for those that are here at the township when we have visitors come in, as far as what they're hearing. So some of the issue are the speakers we have up here at the days are causing some of the feedback. Those will be taken out, but there's a suggestion of improved speakers for the visiting public. I don't understand when it says 2-way. Does that mean, is it also transceiver where it can receive and broadcast? So we need to find out. The final one, and Linda, I know Georgianne's going to work with you and have discussion with Chris. There's a recommendation on improving the phone system. It does show long-term, this would be a lower cost than what we're paying today, but we need to find out. So this is more, and David, you can read through this later, as far as, what the benefits of this are, but the real thing is also the cost savings. There would be some upfront costs, though. Yes, Linda?
When we got a quote from Victor last year, it was going to cost us more money per month. I see the price that he has on here is way lower than what it was last year. I can't believe that something has come down in price
Yeah, well,
by a couple $100.
Yeah, I'll let you guys work out the details as far as what's happened there,
Yeah.
so.
And I'm not sure that this is the way to go, but I don't know enough about it. I haven't looked at it, but there may be another way to do it.
Okay. Yeah, I think the only 2 we're looking at for sure are 1 and 3. And what we'll probably do either at the next meeting or the succeeding meeting is have Victor actually come in to answer any questions that the township has.
Our firewall now is with Metro?
We don't really, I don't
Or
know that we really have a
what they
firewall. We
have.
have a router. Yeah.
Are they going to be allowed to bid or put in a quote for it?
Suppose they could, if you want them to. Is that something you're going to contact them then?
I
I can
mean,
contact them. Get a couple different
I would,
options, I don't know,
I would
yeah.
get options.
Yeah, if you're going to contact
I
them
can
then? Linda?
contact them,
Okay.
Sure. It's, what is it now?
Iconium.
Iconium, thank you. Which is Metro Computers.
Okay.
And
Well,
then-
you,
Oh, one other thing,
Yeah.
one other thought, and because this is not my wheelhouse, I don't know if we should probably maybe contact Citywide, who has our security fire alarm.
Yeah,
Go
that-
through our phones before we make any decision on phones.
yeah, that's one of the questions on here. There's no, like I said, this is where I see this as far as a priority is
Right.
number 3, then number 1.
And I don't know if a firewall would interrupt or interfere with the phone system. I don't know, because like I said, it's not my wheelhouse. These are
Shouldn't,
just
but,
questions.
yeah,
These are just questions popping up that
yeah,
we probably need answered before we make any decisions.
right. Well, one way or another, we've got to improve our cybersecurity.
Yeah, I'm
No
not in
question about
disagreement
that.
with that at all. Just how we go about doing it would be the question.
Okay, well, look through this. If you're going to get those additional quotes, then we'll have something to compare, and then we can decide which direction we're going
Sure,
here.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay. Okay, I don't see where there's anybody here from Consolidated, but we do have the motion here. This is the review and approval of the Amherst Consolidated Properties LLC Sandstone Mills Subdivision Phase 1 home construction for the Sandstone Development, the findings of the Zoning Commission pursuant to Amherst Township Zoning Resolution Article 1200 for Planned Development District. And I'm not going to read the whereases, but just to bring this to the floor, is that the Board of Trustees pursuant to Amherst Township Zoning Resolution Article 1200, Planned Development District, finds and determines that it is in the best interest of the township to approve the Amherst Consolidated Property Sandstone Mill Subdivision Phase 1 Final Development Plan for the construction of 43 homes in the Sandstone Development and the findings of the Zoning Commission. Section 2, all construction shall be consistent with the settlement agreement by and between the Amherst Township Board of Trustees, Amherst Consolidated Properties LLC, Consolidated Investors Group LLC, and Consolidated Investors Group 2 LLC for this Sandstone Plan Development District and in preliminary development plan, settling Lorraine County Common Pleas Court Case Number 20CV-200199 pursuant to Revised Code 505.07. Section 3, this approved Sandstone Mill Subdivision Phase 1 Final Development Plan for the construction of 43 homes shall become for the proposed development of binding commitment of the specific elements approved for the development. The improved development plan may be transferred to another person, corporation, or group of individuals or corporations prior to the issuance of a building permit. A request for such transfer or change of ownership shall be presented to the zoning inspector and granted only if the new ownership entity satisfies the administrative, financial, legal, and all other performance guarantees approved with the original development plan. All construction and development under any building permit shall be in accordance with the approved plan. Any departure from such plan shall be cause for revocation of the zoning certificate. Any changes in an approved plan shall be resubmitted for approval in accordance with the Amherst Township Zoning Resolution Article 1200 for Planned Development District. And the rest is all boilerplate. I guess it was in the whereas. There is a question, let me find it here, on the sign. Yeah, during the final whereas, during the Zoning Commission Final Development Plan review, it was noted that the Sandstone Mill sign might not comply with the Amherst Township Zoning Resolution. Thus, the sign must be modified to come into compliance or a variance request would be necessary. So of all the discussion that happened at the Zoning Commission, is that seemed to be the one item that, though the zoning commission didn't mention it in their approval, which was unanimous 4-0, and there was one abstention, that was a point they brought up on the sign, and essentially what the developer said was that they would either modify the sign or come in for a variance then, Sam. Okay. But I'll make that motion just to bring it to the floor.
All right, let's see what we got here.
And do you want to second that, David, or?
I'll second it.
Okay.
Motion, you have a motion on the floor.
Right, so now it's open for
The final
discussion.
development plan approval criteria, we got to make sure the plan conforms in all pertinent aspects to the approved preliminary development plan. It looks like it fits in there. Adequate provision made for safe and efficient pedestrian and vehicular circulation within the site into adjacent property. Right now, it's just a section of street. Attach them to the one, so that the development has public services and open spaces. Open some edges, I believe. But services are provided, police, fire, ambulance are provided, utilities are provided. Development preserves and is sensitive to the natural characteristics of the site in manner that complies with regulations. Development provides adequate lighting for safe and convenient use of streets, walkways, driveways, and parking areas. Lighting involved, I trust there is. There needs to be. There's not. Proposed signs as indicated on the submitted sign plan will be coordinated within the PDD and with adjacent development. The landscape plan will adequately enhance the principal building and site, maintain existing trees, buffer adjacent and incompatible uses. Log back there. Adequate provision is made for storm drainage within and through the site, which complies with applicable regulations in this resolution. And if the project is to be carried out in progressive stages, each stage shall be so planned that the foregoing conditions are complied with at the completion of each stage. And that was the criteria that's approved. What happens if we don't approve this?
We, the Board of Trustees,
Yeah.
then
Doesn't
it'll
pass.
just pass.
Yeah. What?
It'll pass.
Yeah. The approval of the zoning commission.
Right.
Okay. Criteria, this is what you've got. You've got a resolution here.
Right. So is there anything else?
Well, those are, I want to review the criteria. There are quite a bit of logging went on back there, and much to my chagrin, some large trees.
Yeah, but we've known since the preliminary plan, the way they had it laid out, we knew that was going to happen. As a matter of fact, I was at a picnic, neighborhood picnic this past weekend, and one of the adjacent neighbors has brought up about trying to keep some of the old growth trees, and I suggested very strongly, and I know they received the developer's contact information when they were at one of the meetings, contact the developer directly. If you want those trees, existing trees as a buffer, I'm sure the developer will prefer to do that as long as they don't damage it by compacting the soil, versus a current settlement agreement shows the buffering area with a mound and a planted mound. I said because the trustees would need to know that's what you want. The developer's willing to do it. We could certainly change that if that's what they want. I said, but I put the burden back on the individual. You know, we can't be going back and forth on this. And then they say, well, that's not what I wanted. So I don't know if they're going to contact the developer or not, but I made it clear if they don't, it's going to be a mounded buffer area and then replanted with new vegetation. I don't know what more you can do, but yeah, I'm sure nobody likes old trees being taken down.
It takes 100-some years to grow them, that's all.
Oh, I know, they were all taken down for every farm area we have here. This whole area used to be treed. But we all like to eat.
We all gotta live somewhere.
But yeah, the criteria, and Sam, for you, these are the 12, 13 that David's reviewing, and this is the same document I bring out when the zoning commission's reviewing this, see how they address this. All right, anything else, David? David, anything else?
No, I know nothing right
Okay.
now.
Chris, roll call?
Neal?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Lynch?
Yes.
Euring?
No. Well, now,
So that, there's no resolution on that, Chris, because
didn't pass,
it didn't
but
pass.
So take that off.
the approval is
Right, just
from the
take it
zoning
off.
commission stands. All right, that's it. Anyway.
And this one that came in before the meeting with between the soccer and the football group, how do you want to handle that? Use of the park.
You want me to contact Jeffrey? Have him,
That might be the thing to do, and maybe if it's as you said, you'd already told the football group that, to your knowledge, no one was using the ball fields to use the baseball field. That may be the better thing, because that's what it sounds like you verbally told them they could probably do. But better thing is if they get a written, come up with a written agreement to give them preferential use, both soccer and football. Because right now, I know the Soccer Association let theirs lapse, and I know it's because of changeover in the volunteer organization. Football, I think they still have an updated one for the use of the Overland Road area, but nothing in the park. They really should get an agreement.
I'll contact him.
Okay.
Try and schmooze it out, but definitely if the soccer wants to stay there with that field, should have an agreement. The
Yeah,
football
they
was
should.
just gonna be temporary.
Yeah. But again, if there's the open baseball field and that serves their purpose,
Absolutely.
the outfield, then you can have everybody happy. Okay, our next regular meeting will be at 7 o'clock on Tuesday, August 23rd. Do we see a need for a work session right now?
Not right now.
Probably the only thing, David, that might come up, but I'd have to call you for a meeting, is if we meet with Joe Makuda and, Leonard Ganizak, if that comes up.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Because I think that'll be easier for us to sit down in person and have the maps in front of us and explain what's going on. Then we'll understand, too, better what type of equipment Joe's planning on having on his property. Okay? All right. Any need for an executive session?
No.
All right. Then I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Lynch?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.